Everyone, so today we're going to be learning the basics of Blender keyframe animation, and today we're just going to learn how to use the rotation and the location keyframes to create cool animations. And today we're also going to work on something like this. So at the end of the video you should be able to do a basic walk cycle animation just like this, and it's incredibly easy. And of course I made it beginner friendly, so everyone starting off can just do this easily. So guys, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to add a cube with my Shift A, mesh, and you click on cube. So we have a new cube right here. I'll just come right here and enable random so you could see the colors properly. Now for animation, as I said earlier, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be learning the basics of animation, keyframe, rotation, scale, location. This may not really make sense, but once we jump right into it, it makes extreme sense. And I'm going to just be teaching the basics of keyframe as well. So right here I taught in an earlier video about what all these editors are. So this right here is your timeline. It controls the timing of your animation. Over here we have our playback options. Here we have an option to jump to the beginning of our timeline. Here we can also jump to the end, and these two right here are to jump in between keyframes. Now you might be wondering what exactly are keyframes. The best way to describe a keyframe is just it's a crucial point of your animation. That may not make sense, but it's like the positional value of your object. For example, if you insert a keyframe at the beginning of, let's say I click on K is the shortcut to bring out to insert the keyframe menu. So if you want to see the keyframe menu, just click on K, and let's say I click on location. So basically in Blender it's called location, but in other software they're called position, because that is the position of your object. So I'm in one frame, so I just go to around 30 frames. I can just move forward on the y-axis. Remember to move, you press G and Y to move on the y-axis, and I click my cube. The next thing I'm going to do is just to click on K again and click on location again. So then we have just something like this, right? So that is just the idea of what a keyframe is. It just signifies the exact positions in which your object would exist if you use them. Likewise, the rotation keyframe menu. So basically the keyframe is just those crucial points that define your object and what it's going to do. Alright, so let me just delete these keyframes and jump right into it. So the first thing I would love you to understand is about keyframes is basically what controls your cube. So let's just start. So the basic thing you need to know how to do is to add a keyframe. As I mentioned earlier, to bring out the keyframe menu, you click on K. Right, you click on K. Then you click on, let's just try with our location. So as I've added a keyframe to the beginning of my timeline, let's say I want my cube to get from this point to around this point in 80 frames. So what I'll do, I'll just click on 80, click on G to grab my cube, Y to move to constrain it to the y-axis, and I'll just take it here. I click, that means at this point this is where I want my cube to be. So I'll add another key. If I don't add a keyframe, we don't have anything, right? So I would go back to the 80 frames, G to the y-axis, and I'll move it somewhere around here. And the next thing, I'll click on key to bring out the keyframe menu and apply the location. So if we go to the beginning, we have something like this. and it's extremely easy. It's that easy, and basically that is all about keyframe. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Oh, I'm just kidding, we're just getting started actually. Okay, so I'm just going to delete all this. Delete keyframes. So another thing you could also do is you could also use your rotation. For example, let's just add a rotation keyframe. I click on K to get my the rotation, which is right here. So I want to animate the rotation of my cube. I'll click on it to add. Okay, sorry, I remember before you create a keyframe, you need to click on the objects you're working with. So I've clicked on my objects. I press K, rotation, and you could see a keyframe appears, right? So what I want to do, basically I want to rotate my cube just a little. So let's say I go to 20 keyframes. Now I'm going to rotate mine on the Z axis. So I'll press R and Z. Okay, sorry, R, Z. And I'll just shift the face towards me here. I'll click on K again to bring up the keyframe menu, and I click on rotation. Then you would see we have something like this, and it's really amazing. As little as this is, you could do so much. You could tell stories with it. You could create basic animations. And in other tutorials, I'm going to show you how we could create a little nice animated story with just cubes, with even a bouncing ball. So just stay tuned, turn on the notification, and yeah. So what else do I need to show? I could also show you, let me delete these keyframes again. To delete a keyframe, you highlight all the keyframes, click on X and delete keyframes. So I clicked on Alt R to reset my cube to the original position or rotation it was in. So let me just show you what the scale keyframe can do. I'll click on K to add a scale. I'll go to 30 frames, sorry, and scale my cubes. So something like this. I'll click on K and add a keyframe for scale. And then we have something like this. So essentially you could see our cube grew, right? It got bigger as the timeline was moving. So we have something like this, and this is all we need. So I'll just show you something else before I show you how we could do the work cycle with this basic keyframes. So I'll just cancel delete keyframes. So what I want to do is I want to animate the location, which I said earlier is the position of your cube. I want to animate it from here to maybe around this point. And I also like, as the cube is moving forward, it scales up, right? As the cube is moving towards the end of the keyframe, it scales up. How do we do that? So I'll click on K, click on location, which is the default location. Let's say I move towards 80 frames. I click on grab to the y-axis and move it somewhere around here. Remember, you will now click on the K to lock in the keyframe. There's also a way to use the automatic keyframing, which is this, and I'll show you in just a moment. So now we have something like this already. Good. So what I want to do, I'll click, let me go back to the beginning. I'll add a keyframe for scale. Okay, for scale. And there are other options here. There are options for, you could just add a keyframe for location and scale. You could add a keyframe for rotation and scale. So I'm just keeping it very simplified. So what I'm going to do is to add a keyframe for scale. I'll go to that same position of the end value for the location, which is here. I will now scale out my cube to something like this. I'll click on K again and add a keyframe. So you could see it would have something like this. Now this is really cool. What basically happened was my cube was at this point, it was this size. It was this side. Then as it moved further down towards the end keyframe, it kept on increasing until it reached the set size. So this is really cool. I'm just going to show you now how to use the auto keyframe before we jump into animating the robot itself. So I'm just going to press X, delete keyframe. So we have no more keyframes. So another thing you could do is the auto keyframing. So auto keyframe basically means it's just going to automatically add keyframes, so I don't have to keep pressing K. So let's say I just do this and I'll click on maybe, yeah, let's use location again because it's really easy to learn. So I've clicked on the location, I go further down, I'm just going to press GY, and you could see right here it's added an automatic keyframe for me. So let's see how that works out. And it's pretty that easy. However, I would advise as a beginner, just keep using the K to pop up the keyframing, because sometimes you might just accidentally move your cube maybe this way and it creates a keyframe, and that's just nasty work. So we could just Ctrl Z to just for now keep using K until you get really familiar with working with the keyframes. So I'm just going to show you how we could easily animate that robot, and yeah. Okay, so I've imported my robots and I'm just going to be showing you the flow and how to animate the work cycle. So it's really easy. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to parent all the necessary properties and elements to the face. For example, yes, this is the ear, right? It's something like an ear. So what I'm just going to do is I'll have to join or parent them to the head. Then I'll parent the arms and the legs to the body or the torso. Then I'll parent the head as well to the torso. Thereby, if I move the body, it moves everything. Well, we're just going to start in a second. So the first thing I'm going to do, I click on 1 to get my front view. So I will just select this, and remember, what you want the properties to be parented to is what you select last. So I'm just going to select the ears on the right, like so. And I'll hold down Shift and do the same thing with this. Okay, now still holding my Shift, I'll do the same thing with this. Now the eyes is where it gets tricky, or it could be easier if you just rename the properties and join them together, but I'm just going to take the longer road for some reason. So if you're working on this, you can just group your work properly and name them on this scenes collection panel. But we'll just continue. So I'm still holding down my Shift. I'll click on this, and this, right? Okay, so I'll just shift up. I'm still holding Shift, then this, and this. And I'll also click on the mount, and then lastly I'll click on the face, and then I'll press Ctrl P. Ctrl P is the short key to bring out the options for parents. So I'm just going to click Set Parent to Object, Keep Transform. I right click. Then you would notice something that these strings have been attached to the head. So if I move the head, it takes all the elements, let's say the eyes, the ears, the antenna on the top, and the mouth. So I think I have that already done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to parent the hands and the feet to the body. So I'll just hold down shift, click on the hand, both hands, both feet, the head, and remember you now select the body last because that is the active parent. So I'll click on the body and also press Ctrl P and click set parent to objects, keep transform. So what you'll notice is once you click on the body, you can move the whole. Oh, my stuff has disappeared. Okay, it's back. So you could just move it around and see your parent works perfectly. Remember, the short key is Ctrl P. However, if you want to remove a parent, is let us say I want to remove the hands from being parented with the body. I'll hold shift and click on both of them and press Alt P, and it says clear parent. So you could just clear the parent and it's no longer attached. You see, like so. Or if I move the body, it doesn't move the arm. So I'm just going to Ctrl Z that action and let me see if it's back. Okay, so now you're back. Let me see. Okay, so we're back. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the process on how we could easily create the rotation for the arms and the legs to give us the illusion of a walk cycle. Now this is not going to be very high, but is beginner friendly and is actually a good step in learning how to use keyframes. So I'm just going to click on 3 for side view, move up, and stay on 3. So the first thing I want to do is to rotate the arms. So I want this like this. Just imagine a typical walk cycle, how the arms move. I think the arms is going to be this and this. Okay, or rather, let's say this, something like this, and then we'll rotate it towards the left. Then we'll have something this like this. Okay. So remember how to rotate. You use R and just swing back and forth. Okay. So another issue you might face is your anchor point or your origin. If you want to kindly ensure your origin is at the right place. So let's say this, let me isolate it. So we have this orange dot here is your origin, and if for any reason it's not at the right place, click on the active tools down here, click on origin, and it shows you this panel, so you can move it around like so. But for the purpose of this video, kindly ensure it's at the top here in the center so the rotation can be easier. Okay, so I'm out again. I isolated, clicking the / and back to restore. So I'm just going to move this arm to the back. Okay, sorry, you deselect origin. So I'm just going to click here and move it to the back. So we have a good startup pose like this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to begin adding keyframes. Let me just zoom down a little. Okay, so the first thing, I'll select all the moving parts and click on shift to select all. And then I'll add a keyframe with K. And I'm going to use rotation as I said earlier in the video. And then this is the start pose. So I'm just going to go around 10 seconds and click Alt R to reset the keyframes. So I'm just going to press K and lock in this keyframes. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'll go along another 10 frames and I'll just I will just select all the moving parts. I'll duplicate the first keyframe, or instead I'll just manually correct it. So this is what we have so far. So I'm just going to do, I would rotate this way, click on the first leg, right leg, and the left leg as well. Then I'm going to just turn it and rotate this like so. Then I'll select all the moving parts. After I've gotten the proper adjustments I want, I'll click on K and click on rotation. So what we'll have something like this, and that is all we need for this project. So I'll just begin to duplicate my keyframes and begin arranging it properly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll duplicate the second keyframe, which is the neutral pose, and now duplicate with my Shift D and move it to 30 frames. Then I would now duplicate my first keyframe, the Shift D, and move it to around 40 frames, like so. Yes, okay. So let's just do this. So we'll have something that looks like this, which is really cool. And okay, so what I'll do, I'll just go to keyframe 50 and add another neutral pose, Shift D, G, and move it. So what I'm just basically doing is, for every shift I make, I'll add a neutral pose. So if I move the hands like I did here, then what comes next should be a neutral pose, which leads to the next movement. So that is the whole idea of the animation. So right here, I will just look for, okay, this is our last pose. So I'll just look for maybe the second or the third. Shift D, grab and move it to the Y axis, and it's extremely easy. And that is the whole idea. It's extremely easy. Anybody can do this. So I will just add probably 2 more. Okay, Shift D, go just move it this way. Sorry. Okay. Then I would now probably go to 80 and add 1 more. Shift D and move it this way. Okay, sorry, that's the wrong keyframe. Probably this. Okay, so I'll just probably that. Shift D, grab and move here. So we would have a looping animation like so. And I would love it to finish on a neutral pose. So I could just get probably this, but I know it's a neutral pose. Shift D and move it here, somewhere here. Okay, and then our animation is complete. And this is really easy, and so anybody can do it. So what I'm just going to do, as you can see, all the motion and movement is happening at one spot. So what I would like to do is I want the object to move forward. So I'm just going to, let's just create a plane, right? A circle, and I'll scale it out a bit, like so. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to parent the torso or the body to my circle. I'll click on Ctrl P, object keep transform. Now what I want to do is I want the whole body to be connected to this circle. So wherever the circle moves, the body moves as well. So I'm just going to press 3. Now you will notice that the last pose was around 90 frames. So what I'm going to do, I'll come to 0. I'll add a keyframe on the circle now for location, or you can call it position of the circle. Then I'm going to go to around 90 seconds. Click on G and Y and move forward. Right, so I'll now click on K and add a keyframe for location. So we would have something like this. This is really good, but you will notice the character had the speed wasn't really aligned. It moved fast at first. So to fix that, it's really easy. You just select the 2 keyframes on the circle which is the location keyframes, click on T and click on linear, so it will make it match a bit better. So we have this, and wow, it's really that easy. However, I would like to add just a little more details on the head of the robot. So what I want the head to just turn a little as it's working. So I'll go to around 20 frames. You can come to 20 frames or just click in here 20 and it takes you straight to 20 frames. So I'll add a keyframe on rotation here. Then I'll go to 30 and rotate it on the Z axis, RZ, like this. Then I'll click on K and lock that in, so we'd have something like this. Right, so I'd like it to turn back, maybe to a different angle altogether. I'll click on R, Z again. Okay, I'll just click on R and Z and turn it again. Lock that in the rotation and come back here. Just duplicate the first frame, Shift D and move it here. So it's just the same process. So let's just see what we have so far. That is a bit too fast. So I could just click on all the keyframes and scale them out like so. Then we would have something like this, which I think is still a bit too fast, but okay. We can still scale it out a bit, so like this. And then we just have something slow and it's giving the impression that the robot is looking around, and I think it really makes sense. So you don't have to add a rig to be able to animate the character. I could show you the same process on a more complex object or character, but for now I think we should just stick to this. So if I just try this out, you could add more animation on it, you could add even more rotation on the face, you could play with the adjustments a bit, make it slower, faster, and you have an amazing animation. So guys, just let me know what you think in the comments, and kindly mention any video you'd like me to create, or you can ask in the comments if you have any questions or concerns about this video, and I'll respond to all the comments. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Kindly like and subscribe the video, and until we meet again, it's Blender Bro here. See you in the next video.